You've probably run the diagnostic on yourself already. Can't focus for more than a few minutes, tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix, low for no reason you can point at, restless in a room full of people you like. And the conclusion is almost always the same. Something is wrong with me. I want to offer a different reading and then spend the next 10 minutes showing you the evidence for it. Your brain is running a build that is roughly 300,000 years old. It has never been updated. Not for offices, not for cars, not for a screen that fits in your hand. The hardware is fine. It is running in an environment it was never written for, and almost everything you call a symptom is the gap between the two. Here is the question worth asking. If the machine didn't change, what did? Because both things can't be true at once. Either millions of people independently developed the same defect at the same moment in history in the same handful of countries, or the room they are standing in changed and the machine did not. One of those is a coincidence the size of a civilization. The other is just history. Start with the clock. Our species is about 300,000 years old. Farming is 12,000. Industry, 250. Half of American adults have owned a smartphone for around 13 years. Put that on one line and the shape is hard to miss. 96% of the human story was spent in small mobile groups, outdoors, on foot, in daylight, eating things you could recognize. Everything you think of as ordinary life fits inside the last 4%. The fine-tuning ran later than that headline number suggests. Brain shape kept changing until maybe 35,000 years ago, but nothing on that timeline is recent enough to matter here. 400 or 500 generations is nowhere near enough time to redesign a brain. So the useful question is not what is wrong with you. It is narrower and more answerable. What did that build expect to receive every day that it now doesn't? There are 4 worth taking seriously. Movement, light, food, company. We are going to take them one at a time because each one has a real number attached and the numbers are not small. Movement first. The average Western adult now spends more than half of their waking day sitting. Accelerometer studies put it around 57%. You have heard what comes next. Sitting is the new smoking. That line is wrong, and it is worth knowing why. The largest analysis of it followed over 1 million people. Sitting does carry real risk, and the risk climbs with each additional hour past about 7. But 60 to 75 minutes of moderate activity a day essentially erases the excess mortality. Smoking works nothing like that. You cannot undo a pack a day with an hour's walk. The honest version is less quotable and much more useful. Sitting is a dose you can offset, and most people are simply not offsetting it. That raises the obvious question of how much is enough. The answer is less than the number you have been sold. The 10,000 steps figure came from a 1960s Japanese pedometer campaign, not a laboratory. When researchers actually measured it across 15 cohorts and 47,000 people, the mortality curve bent early. Compared with the least active group, around 5,800 steps a day cut the risk by 40%. 7,800 cut it by 45. After that, the curve flattens, and for adults over 60, it flattens sooner. For contrast, the Hadza, who still live by hunting and gathering, average about 15,000 steps a day and show almost none of our cardiovascular markers, though they also eat differently and face different disease pressures, so movement is not the only variable there. The wider point is that most of what your body burns is not exercise at all. Ordinary standing, walking, and fidgeting can swing daily energy expenditure by as much as 2,000 calories between 2 people of the same size. Second input, light. Americans spend about 87% of their time indoors and another 5.5% in vehicles. Call it 9/10 of your waking life under a roof. That matters because indoor light and outdoor light are not the same thing wearing different clothes. A well-lit room is somewhere between 50 and 500 lux. An overcast day outside is 1,000 to 10,000. Direct sun runs past 100,000. Even a gray, miserable afternoon outdoors is brighter than the best lit room in your house, usually by a factor of 10 or more. Your eyes evolved to calibrate against that number, and for most people it now almost never arrives. Here is what happens when it does arrive. Researchers in China added 40 minutes of outdoor time to the school day, and followed nearly 2,000 children for 3 years. Myopia developed in 30% of the children who went outside against nearly 40% of those who did not. Same classrooms, same books. The difference was daylight. Morning light does something else as well. It nudges your internal clock earlier, though the shift per morning is minutes rather than hours, and it builds with consistency instead of arriving overnight. And while we are here, one correction. You have been told that blue light before bed wrecks your sleep. The mechanism is real in a laboratory, the product built on it is not. A meta-analysis of blue blocking glasses found small, inconsistent effects with confidence intervals crossing 0. Dim everything and go to bed on time. Don't buy $30 glasses and call it solved. Third, food. About 58% of American calories now come from ultra-processed products. The obvious question is whether that is actually doing anything, or whether it is just a word people disapprove of. In 2019, researchers at the National Institutes of Health answered it properly. 20 adults lived in a research ward for a month. 2 weeks eating ultra-processed food, 2 weeks eating whole food. Here's the part that matters. The two diets were matched on paper for calories, sugar, fat, sodium, and fiber. Same numbers. People could eat as much or as little as they wanted. On the ultra-processed diet, they ate 508 calories a day more and gained about a kilo in 2 weeks. On the whole food diet, the same people lost about a kilo. Researchers think part of the reason is that these foods are eaten faster and pack more calories per bite, though the exact mechanism is still being worked out. What that experiment does not license is the story usually bolted onto it. There is no such thing as the ancestral diet. Across hunter-gatherer societies, carbohydrate ran anywhere from a fifth to over half of daily calories, and fat from 12 to nearly 60% depending entirely on latitude and ecology. Nobody was doing keto on principle. What is consistent across all of them is not a macronutrient ratio, it is the absence of anything engineered to be eaten quickly. One thing does stand out. Estimates put Hadza fiber intake at 80 to 150 grams a day. Those are reconstructed figures rather than direct measurements, so hold them loosely. Even at the low end, it is 5 to 10 times the American average of about 15 grams. Fourth, and the one people underestimate, company. In 2003, young American adults spent about 61 minutes a day with friends. By 2019, before anything closed, it was 39. That is a third of the time gone, in 16 years, and the pandemic year is a separate story stacked on top of it. Meanwhile, the places that used to generate contact without anyone planning it have thinned out. When Microsoft studied 61,000 of its own employees through the shift to remote work, the finding was not that people stopped talking, it was that the network went rigid. More siloed, more asynchronous, with fewer of the accidental cross-group ties that make an organization feel like a place rather than a directory. The health side of this is where the numbers get serious and also where they get mangled. You have heard that loneliness is as bad as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That comes from a review of 148 studies covering 300,000 people, which found that people with stronger social ties had a 50% higher likelihood of survival across the study periods. But the 15 cigarettes line is a comparison of risk size, not biology. Researchers were not claiming loneliness gives you the same diseases as smoking. They meant the two take roughly the same amount off your odds. The lead author has said publicly that the statistic has become a game of telephone. The quieter finding is more usable anyway. About 60% of your daily social contact is with weak ties, the barista, the neighbor, the person at the desk near yours, and more of that contact predicts a greater sense of belonging. Now look at the symptom list again. Scattered attention, flat mood, restlessness, loneliness in a crowded city. Those are not malfunctions. That is a well-built machine reporting accurately that 4 of its operating conditions are missing. You are not broken, you are running ancient software on a system it was never written for, and it is doing its best to tell you so. Which is oddly good news because environments are editable and personalities mostly are not. You cannot decide to want different things, you can change the room. So here is the smallest intervention that touches the most inputs at once. 20 minutes outside in the morning on foot, ideally with someone. That is one habit and it pays into all 4. Daylight at an intensity no room can match. Movement of the ordinary kind the step data says matters most. Company if you bring a person and a weak tie or 2 if you don't. It does nothing directly about food, so pair it with the only food rule the evidence really supports. Eat things that take time to eat. I want to be careful about what that claim is worth. Exercise has a large measured effect on depressive symptoms compared with no treatment, But head-to-head against antidepressants, the difference is not significant, so this is not a replacement for treatment, and I am not claiming it is. Morning light reliably shifts the clock, but no trial has tested a 20-minute walk specifically, measuring mood and sleep and metabolism together. Researchers haven't tested this exact recipe as one intervention. What they have shown again and again is that stacking these inputs together beats doing them in isolation. This is the simplest way we could find to stack 4 of them into one habit. You were never the problem. The room was. And the room is the part you are allowed to change. Pick one input, put it back this week, and see what your hardware does with it.